Barratt, who's in London. Olly, the British Prime Minister is making big promises, committing to lobby companies back home to invest in South Africa. What's the reaction been?
Certainly big promises, Shahan, being made by Prime Minister Theresa May. She's talking about £4 billion, so 73-odd billion rand extra invested by the UK government into the African economy as a whole, and insisting that she believes that the private sector here in the UK will match that. And of course, South Africa being one of the main trading partners for Britain on the African continent, then a lot of that money you would expect would end up in the South African economy. It depends what type of business you talk to here in the UK. There are many who accept that the European economy is not growing very fast, that it won't grow very fast in years to come, and that you have to look further afield as an exporter in terms of where to make investments, in terms of where to strike business deals and trading arrangements if you want to grow your own business here in the UK. There are others who say, look, I'm doing plenty of business with the European Union. That is where I want the government to focus its attention on, making sure that Britain reaches a good deal with the EU. So a mixture here in the UK of optimism in terms of those businesses who want to go along with what Theresa May is suggesting with regards to South African cooperation and more investment on the wider African economy as well, and those who wish she was looking a little bit closer to home and say she's only in Africa because she doesn't believe she can reach a particularly favourable deal with Brussels.
Yeah, she's also assured our government that Brexit won't affect trade relations between the two countries. Can she really make such an assurance given the possible fallout of Brexit?
In all honesty, Theresa May can make very few guarantees at the moment. She is of the expectation that she's going to reach a great deal with Brussels, and that she'll also be able to send Britain off into the world to continue with the trading arrangements it already has in place, but also to improve them over time. You know, there are those who say when Theresa May goes to South Africa and says our trading arrangements are going to stay as they are for the time being, it's going to be smooth, there's going to be no major disruption because of Brexit. There are those who say, well, what's the point of Brexit if arrangements are going to basically stay the same? Well, she would say that what you want is that smooth transition period after Brexit where trading arrangements can continue essentially in the form that they are now, but that over time they can be improved to the benefit of South Africa, to the benefit of the UK. There are plenty of Remainers, as they're called here in the UK, who wanted Britain to stay in the European Union, who say that's pie in the sky, and that won't replace the trade that Britain loses as a result of Brexit. But Theresa May trying to strike an optimistic tone about what can be achieved in the future.
Yeah, she really is dancing to our tunes, isn't she? We saw her do that quite literally as well. But she's also promising to make the UK the #1 investor in Africa among G7 countries.
Yeah, you know, Britons will hope that she is a better Prime Minister and better at striking trade deals than she is at dancing. There is certainly an air of desperation about this. She wouldn't describe it like that, of course. She would say that it's quite right that Britain goes out into the world to look for new, improved trading relationships beyond European shores. There are those who wanted Britain to stay in the European Union, as I say, who say that not only is it desperate, but that actually Theresa May won't achieve enough in places like South Africa to replace what will be lost as a result of coming out of the European Union. But then there are also those who've campaigned for Brexit all of their lives who say Britain should have been doing much more of this over the years, engaging with its Commonwealth allies, engaging with parts of the world where the economy is growing much more quickly than it is here in Europe. People saying that Commonwealth countries should have much better arrangements when it comes to immigration, that the European Union has been favoured for far too long because of the rules around free movement here, and that as a result Commonwealth countries have had far stricter immigration rules, just to take one example, than they might otherwise have done. So it depends which side of this debate you are on. Everything here in the UK is viewed through the prism of Brexit. Theresa May certainly will feel that Cyril Ramaphosa needs her as much as she needs him when it comes to this conversation about investment.
Yeah, and the conversation about her dancing you mentioned very briefly is also ongoing in the UK. Let's end off on a lighter note. What are people saying about her moves in South Africa?
People are having a little bit of fun with Theresa May's dancing earlier. She's between a rock and a hard place here. There's been a long debate here in the UK with regards to Theresa May and how she carries herself, about whether she's too wooden, whether she can't engage with people on a humane basis. If she had stood there and not danced along with those children, she would have been criticised for it. She went along with it. She danced with them. I think most people are saying, good on you, Prime Minister. It would have been churlish to not join in.
Yeah, all right. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. Olly Barratt in London.